So the other day, my mate and I were actually at the saunas, right? We just hit a massive gym session and we were like, you know what? We need to go hit some recovery. So let's jump in the saunas. And, you know, we're both sitting there opposite from each other. And I just look at him and I say, mate, I'm running out of video ideas. And, you know, he's a massive St Kilda fan. So I was like, do you have any ideas for a potential video that I could do in the future? And I kid you not, we kind of just sat there for like 2 minutes kind of thinking, well, what can I talk about on the channel? Again, we got distracted a couple times. I mean, a bloke walked in and his towel just dropped and literally he wasn't wearing any jocks or any bathers underneath. I don't know what he was doing, but bro was just standing there. His freaking dong was hanging out. I was looking at him like the Mike Wazowski meme. And yeah, shit like that just kept getting me distracted. But he looked at me and he said, why don't you talk about who you think the St Kilda Football Club should, of course, select in the 2025 AFL draft? Again, at the time of making this video, they have the 4th overall pick. Now, I don't know when this video is actually coming out. I haven't kind of formulated my schedule yet. So by the time this one does come out, maybe the Saints have pick 5 or 6 or something like that. It doesn't really matter because in today's video, I'm genuinely just going to be going over a bunch of different options I think St Kilda could now select with their first round pick to kind of help this, you know, rebuild that I think is actually moving along quite well. I know the record of this season doesn't exactly say that it's moving along quite well, but in saying that, they are, you know, actually showing they've got a lot of really good young players and, you know, they're supposed to be bringing in Tom DeConing and pretty much every other free agent and their dad. So I think it's time to look at the draft now. You know, I've made a bunch of videos on the free agency and trade period. Let's talk about the draft. Again, there's a couple of things we got to kind of check off though before we do talk about who they should take. And of course, that's first and foremost, we got to look at the fact that the Eagles are probably going to have pick 1 and the 2nd overall pick because Oscar Allen is expected to leave, which would give them a band 1 compensation by the reported money he's going to be getting offered, which is insane to think. So they would have pick 1 and 2. Then you got to look at Richmond are going to have 3 and 4, meaning that there's going to be a couple players that are going to get taken before the Saints pick. Again, Cooper Duff-Tytler is the obvious one, the ruckman, who is the number 1 ranked player, who I think will probably go pick 1. You know, pick 2, you got Willem Dersma. I'm sure he'll get taken. Then at pick 3 and 4, the Tigers are probably going to bid on a bunch of the academy players that are there and you know, take their guys. And that's another issue. There's a ton of academy players ranked very high. So you have to factor all of those things in. And if I do all the math on the academy players, who Richmond and West Coast will probably take, there's a couple guys I have in mind. First and foremost, I want to talk about Josh Lindsay out of the Geelong Falcons. Now, he is a halfback. And with kind of everything that I've said, you know, this is where we're looking at right now, the players available. Josh Lindsay is actually ranked number 6 at the time of making this video. Will probably be best available. Again, do the St Kilda Football Club need another halfback? I'm not really too sure. They definitely have a hole in pretty much nearly every position on, you know, the ground that they will really be trying to fill in this off season. Will they go for another defender? I'm not sure, but I would say he's probably going to be best available at this pick. Again, he is a very, very good player. It actually says the Geelong Falcons standout looked most comfortable at halfback, where his run and distributive skills come to the fore. Many clubs will be in for prospects who can move the ball so fluently as Lindsay, especially with his subtle shifting of angles and agility to switch the play. There is potential for Lindsay to explore his midfield credentials as he continues to ply his trade for Geelong Grammar and the Falcons, though a future on the wing or a halfback flank seems much more likely. So yeah, this guy will probably be a natural backman, I will say. God damn, bro, it is raining heavy outside. I am lucky I cleaned my gutters, because if I didn't, I wouldn't be surprised if the roof just collapsed on me and you saw a freaking waterfall attack me. So yeah, if you think the St Kilda Football Club need a backman, Josh Lindsay is the guy. If you're going to be looking at probably the best available player, I think that is going to be at this pick. He is also the guy. But another one I really wanted to look at does happen to be Oliver Greaves, who at the time making this video is ranked pick number 8. Again, he's being called the Smiley clone, of course, being compared to Josh Smiley, you know, the 195 centimeter midfielder that Richmond, of course, took in last year's draft. At pick 7, who once upon a time was ranked pick 1 as well. Again, he's a little bit shorter, 191 centimeter, saying that Greaves holds an uncanny resemblance to former Eastern Rangers teammate and 2024 Richmond draftee Josh Smiley, who shapes as an ideal archetype for the budding midfielder. Sporting the same number 26 as a big-bodied ball winner who moves smoothly and distributes the ball with poise. Greaves has all the makings of a top talent. His ability to play on each line is another tick, showcasing exciting dash of halfback, threatening traits up as a forward, and a strong base in the center. So yeah, if you are looking for an inside midfielder, like I think St Kilda definitely will be, Oliver Greaves will be their man as well. Again, I do think they desperately need an inside midfielder, and considering they're targeting De Koning, Ruckman, Aaliyah, you know, Lake Aaliyah, of course, the backman, and a couple other players here and there, I think the only thing they haven't really truly been interested in majorly has been like that inside midfielder. So I do just wonder if the reason they, you know, aren't interested in maybe some of these other inside midfielders in the trade period or, you know, free agency is not just because they're not maybe interested in them, but maybe it's because they see a guy like Oliver Greaves as the player that they want to get, and maybe that makes the most amount of sense for them. Again, another guy here who I think Richmond will take, but I will touch on him just for a little moment, does happen to be Sam Grill, who is 182 centimeter inside midfielder. Again, this guy has been compared to Max Holmes right now and a younger Chris Judd by people like Dylan Alexander, who, I mean, is the ultimate draft guru. Like, I wish I had as much knowledge as this guy. This guy has watched more children play football than probably anyone, but I'm sure if Michael Jackson was still alive, you know, he would probably compete with Dylan Alexander there. That was, of course, a joke. No one come at me in the comment section. I love Michael Jackson's music, and I mean, quite frankly, he's probably the GOAT, so. But in saying that, that is what Dylan Alexander compares him to, because he has a really good, you know, burst out of the stoppage, which I think is exactly what Richmond need. I think St Kilda definitely need it as well, but unfortunately for them, it could be another situation where Richmond gets the midfielder that St Kilda probably want before they get him, which is kind of interesting because, yeah, they really wanted Smiley last year. Apparently, the Tigers swooped in and took him, and I think they might really want Sam Grill as well, and unfortunately for them, I think the Tigers might also go in and swoop on Sam Grill. So, yeah, that would kind of suck for St Kilda, but he definitely is the other one that I think they will really be looking at. Again, another guy who some might consider best available, and probably the last one I'll talk about today, does happen to be Dyson Sharp. Now, Dyson Sharp is a really interesting player. He is from South Australia, which, I mean, the Saints are already, you know, they've had their problems right now with Nasai Wangan and Miller and the South Australia stuff, so maybe they don't want to look that way. But Dyson Sharp, I mean, is the best available South Australian product. At one stage was ranked like pick number 1. I think he was also like, he's been ranked top 5 multiple times. He has fallen quite a fair bit, but at the end of the day, he's a really good inside midfielder that can also play halfback and do a really damaging role on the wing that the Saints will look at. I think, I'm pretty sure it's overall they're going to be really looking at if I had to say, I think they'll be really looking at an inside midfielder, and I think, yeah, Sam Grill, Oliver Greaves, and, you know, of course, Dyson Sharp will probably be their options, but you'll see other guys coming into it, like Lindsay. If he's as good as what some people say he is, and he is best available, if they do think a guy like Toby Travalia will eventually move in the midfield or something like that, they might just be like, look, we got a guy here who's just by far the best available player. He's a halfback, which we still kind of, you know, we may need a little bit. We've got Nasai Wangan and Miller there, but maybe you want another guy there. You know, I don't know. Maybe they look at something like that. So they may do that. it's going to be really interesting as well on who they get in the free agency and trade period. That will potentially also determine who they go and draft. So I'm going to be very interested in all of the above. But again, you know, if you haven't already, don't forget to comment your thoughts and opinions down below. Who are the St Kilda Football Club going to draft? Because I'm very interested, and I really don't know. There's a lot of really good options for them to maybe take. Again, subscribe to the channel for all latest sports content and sports news, AFL content, all of the above. Subscribe to my gaming channel, which will also be getting linked in the description down below if you guys haven't already. Again, it's also, a movie channel. My Instagram will be linked down below as well. But yeah, most importantly, tell me who you guys think the St Kilda Football Club should potentially draft with this pick. But yeah, as I was saying, please make sure to leave a like, subscribe, and comment. And I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.